So we have there we go. These skill sets that we notice, like, wow, people aren't learning these things. We're not learning these things right now. We have this gap of going into the real world, and it's like, oh my gosh, like I'm having issues here with this person, or I'm having issues at home with this, and not having the tools or to want to approach that. I mean, y'all, I work with 50, late 40s, 50s, early 60s. And this is a topic. We're not going to do that one today. We're going to do that one next month. Conflict resolution, but it's a topic that I have multi millionaire business owners and people of very high net worth going, oh my gosh, like I wish I had learned this when I was younger, and asking so many questions. And so this is how we formed a lot of the Skills for Life program for our leadership academy, and knowing like, man, these are things that we're not taught naturally in school about necessarily emotional intelligence. We're not taught these conflict resolution strategies. We're not taught rapport building, which is what we're going to do today, like really understanding the power of that and how that opens doors and what it does, for our lives. Because when you look at just in the world, connection creates influence. Okay. You can't lead people if you haven't connected first. And so this is something that'll help long term for you. And every meaningful relationship begins with someone feeling heard. And so that's really important to understand that when it comes to business, we know that people buy from people they know, they like, and they trust, right? And rapport, it opens doors that credentials alone never could, right? Like people like you, they want to introduce you to people. Guys, you master this skill set, while you're at Cutco, holy moly, what that does for you later in the real world and how that impacts your life forever and all the doors that opens up. And so I'm super excited to hand off our morning teaching. This is something Spencer is so passionate about and has spent so much time and teaches classes on this, and really understanding like what rapport truly is. And how to be phenomenal at that. Because, like I said, when you guys do this, it's something that's going to impact you and influence the way you do business and the way you do life and the opportunities that come to you forever. All right. And so to go through our Skills for Life topic today, I'm going to hand things over to my husband. You guys want to take out pen and paper and definitely take some notes on this, and then we will recap right at the end. All right. I want to hear takeaways.
Woo! All right, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Some of you got still some Sandman in your eyes. Still wipe that out. It's go time, baby. All right, I got a question for you. How many, raise your hand if you've ever met someone and within a minute or two you thought, man, I really like that person. Cool. And let me ask you, what did they do that made you feel that way? Put in the chat box. What did they do that made you feel like I like them? We're going to be interacting here because the better you engage with this, their energy, their confidence, okay? Definitely. I love that. Some people say that their smile, right? That they're a great listener, that you can tell that they're genuinely interested in people, right? Fun to be around. Cool. And I say that because most people don't remember the smartest person in the room unless it was more of a negative experience. Oh, they made me feel like a jerk. Anyone had that before? Yeah, right. They remember the person who made them feel important. This is really important to put in your notes. How are you making your customers feel in your rapport? Rapport isn't about being the most charismatic, though that can help, right? And I'll tell you, charisma can also be learned. Some people naturally have it, some people need to learn it. So, the most important thing I want you to write here is that it's about making people feel valued. Okay? So, if they're not feeling valued within the first 10 minutes of you being there with them, why would they want to care about anything else you have to say about the product line? Right? We've all heard the saying, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So are you taking a genuine interest into your customers? That's step one. Okay. I've got a framework that I'm going to go through, but the big idea here is questions with direction creates connection. Questions with direction creates a connection.
Ooh, baby, that's hot.
Okay. Questions without direction creates confusion. And I'm going to say most of us do small talk, which creates more confusion for our customers than connection with our customers. So I have a framework here about how to build rapport. Okay. So the first step in my rapport process is appreciation. Does my customer, as soon as I start the presentation, feel the appreciation that I have for them for just seeing my presentation today? Right? Do they feel your open heart? Are they open for those minds? And a lot of, but basically, by the way, what we're talking about now is opening the door for handling those difficult conversations later as well, as a leader, as a coach. All of these things we're going to talk about in rapport are how to build great friendships with people, relationships in business, and connections that people want to work with you, right? So, for example, first, are you saying, I really thank you for taking the time to see me, Anna? Brie, I really appreciate that, right? You don't know how much this means to me. That one little line can go a long way. And then are you bringing in the conversation? Oh, I've heard some great things about you, Evan. Oh, Miss Kathy had so many great things to say, right? Are you knowing about your people before you even start your presentation, right? Are you learning about things that they do when you're getting recommendations? Oh, Brooke loves to cook. Caden is a phenomenal baker. I'm like, sweet. So I can start those conversations as I start the presentation, right? Or when you meet somebody, I love your energy. I love your smile. Like, are you appreciating them for something that you genuinely care about? And if you're on a virtual, those are a lot easier, is how they show up, how they smile, their energy. If you're in person, be looking for things around them to compliment them on. Now make sure it's a genuine compliment, okay? Authentic appreciation lowers the defenses immediately, right? Authentic appreciation lowers the defenses immediately. Meaning, don't be like, "Hey, Elijah, I love that ugly green shirt you're wearing." Like, don't say anything like, "No, I love your shirt, by the way." Not saying anything like that, but giving you a point of like making sure you're genuinely appreciating people for the little things. And I say that because mom decorates her house with the little things. Families are built on the little things. So, what kind of relationship are you building with your customers? Okay, that brings us to step two, curiosity. Curiosity is the opposite of selling. Don't be thinking, how do I impress them? Which is what a lot of young people think. They need to posture themselves and establish that I'm just as good. Get curious. That curiosity is something that most young people don't have when it comes to meeting with people. They're more in a defense of like, oh my gosh, what do I think? What are they thinking about me? Who cares? Get curious, and that whole opinion's going to change, right? Great rapport begins from your attention when your attention leaves yourself. Anyone been on a first date and the person's talking about themselves the entire time? Or been in a new group of people and the person's, oh, we're going to do this and versus bringing curiosity into the room. Tell me about yourself, right? We don't want to be the first date that's all about me. We want to be the first date that's all about them, right? What got you into engineering? Like, are you asking questions about themselves that make them open up and start telling you stories? Because as John always says, facts tell, stories sell. And the stories that they tell you are opening the door for that family and friend connection, right? I think about, how did you get into that major? What got you into that career path? Well, they're not going to tell some random stranger walking by on the street that story. Who do they tell that story to? Friends, family, people they're close to. But you can also get those stories when you ask intentional questions. Okay. And I say that because for me, there's a long story about how I got into like pharmaceutical engineering. I went to school for economics. I ran my own Cutco business for 2.5 years as a district manager. I loved it. I didn't want to live in Chicago anymore because I hated the cold and I couldn't move at the moment. And I left. And then I went to go find this job trying to sell jewelry. I was like, man, if I can sell some knives, people already have knives in their kitchen. If I can sell those, I'm pretty sure I can sell some jewelry for people that are going to walk in buying some jewelry. And they're like, oh, Elijah, you're overqualified. You can't do that job. So what? Okay, does that mean I'm going to make you guys some more money? They're like, no, no, we got something else for you though. But because I developed the skills of being curious and asking questions and creating that relationship, I was able to do this in any scenario I went into. Right? So why did I get the job as being an engineer? Because I could establish relationships with people. I created connections that most engineers couldn't do. Right? And so here's a pro tip. Any of you guys going to have technical skills like doctors, lawyers, engineers, the most paid doctor, lawyer, engineer is not the smartest one. It's the best communicator. It's the one who makes people feel comfortable and confident around them. Right? Why did I get to lead a $50 million engineering project with zero engineering experience? Because I could stand in there and act like a professional, like I'd been there before. I could ask questions that made people realize that I knew what I was talking about, even though I had no experience. By the way, they had no idea. They thought I was an engineer. That's what my boss told all of them. But I had to play the part and I had to ask questions that showed that I could be in the room with these people. Right? So what questions are you asking? What are you getting curious about? How did you pick that as your major? Right? What made you passionate about going into law? Why did you pick that? And I say that because almost everybody has a story about what they did, why they do that. And once you get into that level, guess what? Now we're into the conversation of friendship. But those depth questions, those is what creates the relationship. Some of you heard me say this before. Rapport is kind of like a plant. As weird as that might sound, but you guys all know, and Bella will tell you, she's the botanist that I know here. But if your plants don't have deep roots, they can't get nourishment, they don't have structure, they don't have strength for the environment around them to handle. Rapport is just like that. How deep are you going into your conversation? Right? First, people ask, how are the kids? That's great. Now I need to know what sports and activities are they in? What are they proud about Caitlin for? What are you most excited for her to do? Right? If Leslie Rollins, she's like, my daughter's in school in Juilliard. I was looking for the school. I'm working my butt off this summer to help my daughter go to camp at Juilliard. But like, why? What are they connected to? What inspires them? Do you know that? And if you don't, we want to ask them deeper questions, and I'll give you some questions in a second. Okay. People love to talk about things that matter to them. Are you learning what matters to them? And I say that because you know that about your friends. If you don't know that about your customers, you're not creating a friendship with them. And to follow up with that, are you paying attention to how they're answering these questions? Because a lot of people will say things, but it's not what they say that matters, it's how they say it, right? As you get more comfortable with this, you're going to learn that Mrs. Jones looks with her eyes more than she looks with her mouth or her voice. Same thing when you're asking and building rapport. She gets excited. She gets a little more enthusiastic about something. Ask more questions about that. That lights her up. Get curious about things that are important to them. That brings us to number three, asking questions with direction. Bad rapport. Tell me about yourself. What do you do? What are your hobbies? Those questions aren't wrong. They're just so broad and it gives customers a hard time to think about what you want them to answer. Here's another important thing to put in your notes. These adults are going to start asking questions or answering questions the way they expect y'all to answer questions. If someone asks you a question, do you guys give the most long, elaborate, drawn out answer? Is it like short 2 to 3 words as quickly as I can answer that question? I'm trying to get it done. And that's how most adults are going to expect you to answer. So that's how they're going to start answering your questions. So have follow-up questions. Anna, tell me more about that. Brooke, why is that important to you? Sasha, how did that come about, or anything like that, right? Tell me more, opening those doors, because when you ask that follow-up question, you're literally telling the customer, I care. Tell me more about this. I want to learn, right? And people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And how do you show them the care? By asking questions. Your questions create the feeling, right? Because remember, it's not the words we say, it's how we make them feel in that conversation. So along with that, my question for you is, how would they feel, or how would you feel if they were asking questions? Are you smiling while you're asking questions? Or you're like, hey Kenny, how's it going? Yeah, how you doing today? Right? Like, how are they feeling in those questions? And the biggest thing I'll tell you is smile. The more you smile, the more inviting energy you create. Now, so you can ask a question like, what did you study in school? That's fine. Here's the follow-up question. What made you choose that major? Now they have to tell me a story about something that happened in their life that made them choose that. Who's got a story of why they picked their major, right? Something happened in their life, something, see, and most of you guys raise your hand. Here's important, the what is the major. The why is what's inspired you to do that. That why is more powerful than any what you're gonna have. And when you start getting into the whys, that shows that you care. Because that's them thinking. They have to tell you more about what inspired them, what got them into that. And by the way, this is the foundation where you can establish deeper connection. So part of rapport is also bridging a gap. We're building a bridge between them and you in these rapport questions. The better you build this bridge, the faster you can move back and forth from one side of the family to the other. But most people try to build that old bridge with three, four planks across the. Oh, I can walk across, Caden. There's a path. But it doesn't last. It can't move back and forth consistently. We got to build a high quality structure there, right? So we got to get depth in our questions. Here's another cool question. Instead of like, what are your goals? What do you hope to experience, your experience takes you in the next few years? Are you actually making your customer think about some goals and things that matter to them? And I say that because I'll tell you right now, most parents and adults don't talk about goals after they have kids. Okay. But when you start asking questions like that, by the way, we all have goals, but most of them don't think about them in the same way that you guys think about your goals now. So get curious into there, get them to start telling you their stories, and you'll have a deeper connection. Number four, listen to understand. Listen to understand. Most people listen, but wait for their turn to talk. Professionals listen and look for what matters. Listen for the passion for their customer, the frustration that they have, the dreams and goals they're going after, their family focuses. These become the bridges. If they mention they play soccer, ask about it. Or if you played soccer, no way, me too. Oh, my sister played soccer. The objective of this is to find a connection between either you and them, or someone you know and them, or someone they know. The more connections you can create, the faster that bridge is built. People feel connected when they feel heard. People feel connected when they feel heard. Are you giving them space to talk? Right? Because right after this, guess what? You're going to talk for 5 minutes about yourself and then about 30 minutes about the product line for the lot. So are you giving them space to open up? Are you giving them that space to have that connection and feel heard? Because when people get to talk about themselves and they feel safe about it, that's the most genuine connection you can create for people. All right, number five, create the connection. This is where rapport becomes real. Okay. So we're not going to immediately tell your story. We're going to connect to their stories. I understand. Oh, that's cool. That reminds me of this. But bridging that gap, finding those connections, and 9 times out of 10, it's going to be the connection between you and their kids, especially if you're seeing people you know in the beginning, right? And I want them, here's another quick story I'll tell you, or question. My favorite question I ask every person, especially in the area of work, is, Caitlin, what do you wish you knew my age that you know now? What do you wish you knew at my age that you know now? And I'll finish with this last little part here, is when you give them that space to open up, you give them space to actually teach. Raise your hand if your parents try to tell you things to do and you don't listen. I say that because all parents are designed to teach. That's our job. We're supposed to nurture our children into the next phase. As funny as that is, children don't like to learn from their parents. They will learn the same information from an aunt, a friend's parent. And I say that in my years of experience, I've learned this. I use other people to teach things I want to teach. Right? So, meaning that when you're building your rapport, like finding that connection is really important. And so when you give them space, be like, "Oh, Jax, tell like what do you know that?" They're like, "Oh, you really want to learn what I know? Here, let me tell you everything." Anyone had a customer like that that just unloads with all this information? They're like, "I'll tell you this, and I'll tell." If you haven't, start asking those questions because when you find most grandparents love it, by the way. Most parents enjoy it because we want to help, but most people that we are in the vicinity of don't want to listen to our information all the time. So give them space to teach, and you will no longer be a salesperson. You'll be the college kid using Cutco as the vehicle to develop the skills for your future, right? And that last part, number 6 here, is have fun. Are you laughing? Are you joking? Are you being yourself in rapport? Because in the beginning, what I found is I wasn't my most natural self. And the more I became my natural self, the easier it was for them to be connected to me. All right, I'm trying to put this document in the chat box. I'll finish with this last little bonus. Rapport isn't about getting people to like you. Rapport isn't about getting people to like you. It's about helping people feel comfortable enough to be themselves around you. Rapport isn't about getting people to like you. It's about helping people feel comfortable enough to be themselves around you. And that changes everything. So I'll wrap up with this. Appreciate, thank them for their time, thank them for their presence. Get curious about them. What do they like to do? Their hobbies, their family, their interest. Why did they choose those things? What's important to them? Create that direction. Listen to what matters. Pay attention. Take notes on those things so you can use them in rapport or in recommendations. That's a whole nother conversation. And then connect and have fun. People rarely remember exactly what you say. They remember how they felt when they were talking to you. So when someone leaves the conversation feeling heard, understood, valued, and encouraged, you've built rapport. The rapport isn't just the sales skill. It's a leadership skill, it's a networking skill, it's a friendship skill, and it's a life skill. So go take your life, control the way you want it, create the relationships you have, because everything in your life revolves around you, the questions you ask, and the mindset that you have. And you have such a great group of people who want to encourage you to be the best version of yourself. So take advantage of that. Have fun, smile, kick some butt, guys. We're going to have an amazing rest of July.
All right.